Szechuan sauce.
Yeah.
I just noticed that a lot of people are ordering Szechuan sauce. Someone at work was like, "Hey, this is a lot of Szechuan sauce," and I said, "Yeah, it's because of that fucking cartoon, isn't it?"
Oh yeah. Rick and Morty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen that episode. It goes back in time machine to the 90s. That is a good joke. I like that. It's the only time we can get Szechuan sauce. I find that. Do you like that cartoon? How do you feel about that show? I feel it's kind of, I don't know, self-indulgent a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like the granddad is like the character that we should all worship and look up to. I was thinking about that the other day, how like, because I was watching like old, one of my favorite shows is still like early Simpsons, like not the first couple seasons, but like seasons like 4 to 6-ish of The Simpsons, I think is still some of the best television writing ever produced. And I was just reflecting on the fact that like Bart is supposed to be like this like I don't know, countercultural like character, like a menace, like a bad boy type character, and just how our standards of television have just changed so dramatically, like because The Simpsons was like avant-garde, it was offensive, right, when it came out, as hard to believe as that is now, and then it just progressed the next stage with South Park pushing the envelope, you know, this pushing the standards further with profanity and all that, and now it's like modern television. You know, it's like you can say whatever you want, like Game of Thrones, you can say whatever you want, you know, portray whatever you want now. I don't know. How do you feel about this? Like nothing's.
I feel nothing.
Is offensive. You feel nothing.
I feel nothing.
So what does that mean? If you feel nothing?
Not really.
You don't lament the demise of being able to offend, I guess. That's what I'm on about. I don't know what I'm on about.
Oh, so the way you offend now is you go on Tumblr and you tell someone that race exists and is not a social construct.
So yeah, I think that was what I was thinking once to myself, like a couple of years ago when I was watching South Park, and like how they still make their episodes like they're, you know, like offending people, and it's like cutting edge or whatever. And it's not. It's just, it's shit. In South Park, they just make their little fucking cardboard cutout characters, and it's shit writing a lot of the time. I mean, they have very good episodes, but a lot of it is garbage. And I was thinking about race, and specifically how a good contemporary program, if it did want to push the proverbial envelope, like, and actually offend, I was thinking.
Hey, you can go up to speed 3, by the way. I finished that crap.
I was thinking, like, make a cartoon that is like overtly racist or something, but almost doing it sort of ironically as a way to intentionally offend people. That's like the one. That would be the one thing I can think of that would actually be sort of cutting edge, like in the current, I don't know, environment.
What you could do is, I'm just throwing this out there, you could go to a hotel room and masturbate in front of an actress. I hear that's the height of comedy.
What is this, Louis?
Yeah. I mean, on the bright side, you know, he's not like not as bad as Bill Crosby. You know, the whole just date rape thing. What did he do? He was like.
He would give him roofies, the date rape drug, and he would rape him. Yeah. But he did it like 30 years ago, so they can't like prosecute him, I guess.
Right. Well.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the Democrats trundled out like 30 women to accuse Trump of raping them? Just before the election, yeah. They brought them all to the last big debate, and because Trump knew they were going to be there, he brought I think 6 or 7 of the women who accused Bill Clinton of mistreating them.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
The Democrats always try faggy, just things like that, instead of actually do their fucking job as representatives of the working class. What are you these days? Like you're a UKIP person now, aren't you?
Guess as long as you UKIP.
Is that who you vote for?
Oh gosh, the last.
Because you used to be Labour, weren't you? You were a Labour guy.
No, I've never voted Labour in my life.
Oh.
No. At the last election, I actually voted. The last general election, I voted Conservative, who are the centre-right party. You know who the Conservatives are?
The Tories.
The Tories, yeah.
Yep.
I voted for them, but
yep.
I basically voted for them because I knew UKIP wouldn't win, and I knew it was a crucial election, so I was like, I want a UKIP MP, but seeing how badly UKIP did at that last general election in 2015, where they got 12% of the vote and 1 MP out of 650.
I watched the video by what's his name? You always tell me about him, and he said it was the least representative election in the entire history of the UK.
Yeah.
Like most people voted against the Tories, and yet they got the majority because of the goofy voting rules they have. Who'd you date back? Not date. Who did you vote for?
Sorry? In 2015, I voted
dates,
for.
Who did you vote for?
In 2015, I voted for UKIP. I can't remember how old was I in 2010. I must have voted in the 2010 election. I think I actually voted for the BNP candidate in the 2010 election.
Because I've known you for like 10 years now, so you were voting for the... What are they? They're like the little fascist party, aren't they?
The BNP, yeah, they're the British National Party.
What did you vote for them for?
Because
ironic teenage Sid.
I guess, but also because even at that age, I could see what Labour were doing.
So what's the issue with Labour?
They basically they're branding themselves as like the party for Muslims, right? So they know that Muslims their population is booming, and the white people aren't having enough children. So they've settled on this strategy where they're basically branding themselves like, hey, you know, we're sticking up for you, Muslims, you know. In fact, there's a lot of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party right now. There's like a big debate in the Labour Party. They're like, oh, should we kick the anti-Semites out, right? And they're seriously going like, maybe we should keep the anti-Semites, right? And when I say anti-Semite, obviously I mean anti-Jew, right?
Right.
The ex-Labour Mayor of London, well, actually the current Mayor of London is Labour, but the old one, Ken Livingstone, he's he's practically a Holocaust denier, right? I don't think he's actually denied the Holocaust in public, but he's at that level.
It's like
And even though publicly, like, Labour are like, oh, he's terrible, privately they're actually keeping him on because they know that his opinions are popular with the Muslim voters, right? And as long as they're sort of keeping him around, they can, like, keep him on the back benches.
This is a terrible strategy. You cannot
slyly signal.
Cannot trust the Muslims. They will never.
That's it. You can't
assimilate or integrate. But is that like? So here's my thing, right? Like, is all this immigration, like Muslim, like not joining the culture thing, is it really worth voting on these issues over your own economic issues? You know, like, would be my attitude towards it. Like, do you really see immigration and nativism and UK being independent of Brussels and all that shit? Is that really a higher precedent to you than your own economic self-interest? Like,
the Labour don't stick up for my own economic self-interest.
Like the Democrats, yeah.
They're globalists, right? They believe in, like, oh, let's pump the GDP up, even though the GDP is meaningless, more or less. Right? Oh, how do we pump the GDP up? Oh, the big corporation guys are saying we need more cheap labour in the country. Okay, let's get more cheap labour in. More hands working equals more GDP, right?
I do share your disillusionment that the working people of most Western countries have been betrayed by the liberal establishment. We really lack any representation whatsoever these days. It's funny, if you look in the US during the election, you know, all three of the major candidates, most recently Trump, Clinton, you know, Bernie Sanders, they all, you know, campaign on this agenda. You know, it's not going to be free trade, we're going to stick up for the workers, we're going to pull out of the Trans-Pacific partnership thing, you know, but then once they're in power, you know, immediately they reverse all those positions, and it's like, fuck the, you know, working class, you know. Oh shit, I just got a big Italian revolt thing. Yeah, fuck it, I'll take the autonomy. How do you feel about the contemporary crisis of capitalism in general? Because I don't see a good outcome happening here.
What do you mean by the crisis of capitalism?
Yeah, just in like that it's complete unfettered capitalism pretty much everywhere. No restraints. Stark division between rich and poor. You know, a decline in the availability of, you know, decent employment opportunities for most of the population. You know, and like most of the major political parties are deaf to remediating it. What do you think? Or just no
well, I think it's just an inherent problem. It's just an economic problem, right? The only way you could fight it, actually, is by being anti-globalist and trying to sort of, like, wall off your country. That's the only way you can fight it. But is it an option?
I know it isn't really.
I mean, it is a huge problem. What are we going to do when the only jobs are well, you know, the only job position is capitalist, right? The only thing you can do is invest money.
I know, yeah.
Because literally everything else is automated.
And it's gonna be automated now too, is the next stage. I mean, what do you have to create like some kind of unprecedented version of the welfare state? Otherwise, it's just going to be massive social turmoil everywhere. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to prepare for, just on my own, like personal, like, especially here in the U.S. We're not gonna fucking tackle that until it's fucking gonna be revolution stages, and the elites realize if they want to keep their treasure, that they're gonna have to give the masses something. So I'm just trying to preempt that on my own. You know, it's a good system if you have financial assets. I mean, if you have enough, I mean, if you have a stock portfolio and it grows 20%, you know, a year, you know, if it's $1 million portfolio, you just made fucking 200 grand, letting all these businesses you're part shareholder in just, you know, grow for you.
I wish I'd bought some damn Bitcoin.
It's a load of shit.
Wish I'd bought like 100 Bitcoin when they were like £6 a piece.
I mean, it was a fucking shit investment. But there was one guy. He went into my dad's store, like 5 months ago. So when it was at its peak. So I don't know if you've been following it, but I do follow it every week or so. I take a look at the price. It basically peaked at over 10 thou, and now then it dropped precipitously, and now it's like regained some traction up to like 7-8 thou as of right now.
Yeah, I know it's
extremely
like
volatile. Yeah, it is a bubble because it has no inherent value whatsoever, and you can't spend it on anything.
I remember years and years ago, back in like 2013, when it ballooned and it went from like £6 to £10, and it went up to like £200 per coin, right? And that was like the first boom. And I remember a guy in Wales, and he actually went to a landfill and started living at this landfill and digging it and trying to find a hard drive that he'd thrown out with some bitcoins on, right? And that was in the news, right? And then a couple of months ago, it was like 16 to 18,000 pounds a coin. It's like,
yeah, let's dig it in the fucking trash.
And that guy was digging in the trash for like about £1,200, right? If it was now, he'd be digging in the trash for like £120,000.
Yeah. But no, the guy who went to my dad's shop, he offered to pay him in Bitcoin when it was at its peak, and he had bought. I mean, it was like, it wasn't a negligible amount of money, but he bought like $500 worth of Bitcoin. You know, he was one of the people. He was like, he just happened to have that much, and it was worth like $400,000 when he showed it to my dad at the shop in his like Bit wallet, whatever it's called, blockchain wallet. He was like, do you want to pay? And so for him, like some of them, they became like overnight millionaires just by owning the goofy shit. It's not a real investment vehicle though. I mean, it has no inherent value. There are a couple places where you can spend it, but it's not really a currency. It's a speculation as of now, even still. Did you watch that guy I showed you? I linked to you him a couple days ago. I was talking about dividend portfolio.
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah,
he's cool. I like that. That's what I try to emulate towards.
Yeah, he was talking about his career as like a what you call it? Can't remember the word. Speculator.
No, he's just not a speculator. He's just a buy and hold dividend investor.
Dividends.
Yeah, so his whole shtick is he buys stocks and companies, that are well established and have a good track record of, maintaining and upping their dividend payments. And then if you get the snowball ruling, over the decades, it turns into quite a substantial income.
Can you not just peace with them normally? Who are they allied to?
I'm peacing with you.
Because I might attack them like immediately to get some provinces from them. I don't know if that would be a good idea.
Yeah, if you attack one of his allies, you could do it.
Say that again?
If you attack one of his allies, you
Scotland.
have to wait on the truce, I think.
I just don't know whether it's time to dump him or not.
All those little shit sticks occupied Italy on me though, which is irritating. Oops, spaced out in my colonists. That's not good.
What do you think, Manchester? Like in the future, do you think we're all going to be living in comfy O'Neill cylinders, or do you think we're going to get?
I think sex will be just for pleasure. We're going to grow human beings in tubes, like the Matrix. I think that a big portion of this will be the next crisis is virtual reality. It's right now it's kind of shit. Next 20 years, it's going to develop a lot, and there'll be this whole movement of this segment of the population that just wants to live and just do everything in virtual reality. It'll be like the equivalent of like MMOs and all this shit in the VR world, and people will want to just tune into that. Fuck real reality. Elon Musk, he's going to make those fucking tube things like Futurama. You get in one, you can transport to the other side of the continent in one. It's gonna be freaky. We're gonna be on Mars. I mean, we're taking our sweet ass time doing that.
Oh fucking hell! Should have brought that in first.
I think the future. I think ultimately I'm optimistic about the future. There's a lot of dark things about the world right now, but I think that at the same time humanity is in a place where, despite all the negatives, it's ultimately better now than it like ever has been like before. We are getting wealthier, profound poverty is decreasing, healthcare is improving and becoming more accessible, we're less violent, there's less war than there ever has been before. Advanced weaponry brings positives with it because we have such a destructive potential now that it's illogical for there to be war. With all the malaise that globalization and free trade brings, and it fucks the working class and all that shit, it is good because it makes peace more profitable than war.
That's the key.
I don't know, we'll see what I think that ultimately we have to create a kind of, especially in the US, like this, like I'm saying this, like this is some kind of radical statement, like we have to create a combination of capitalism and socialism together in order to, keep the economy growing, keep this up, because obviously you need a capitalist system at the core, but then you also have to ensure social stability, make sure people have a decent standard of living. I mean, if we figure this shit out, I think we're pretty sorted. You know, avoid another major war. Like, that's the other thing. We have to avoid another major war before we really enter like the space era, which hopefully we can manage.
You're not worried though that when we actually have, say, we have like a colony on Mars, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a sample of humans somewhere else. We know that the civilization mm-hmm. won't end. You're not worried that when that happens, like, then people will become more easygoing with the old nuclear weapon, because they'll be like, oh well, you know, if
no,
you kill everybody.
Humans are like, we've always been shit, you know, when it comes to that. I don't really see it as an incentive to encourage war. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I think it will. I think that as soon as they have the excuse of, oh, no, it doesn't matter, civilization will carry on if we fuck up. I think that they'll start going, oh well,
you know. You still have to, like, is it more profitable to have that war or to just fucking be at peace and trade? It's like, it's always more lucrative as of now to be at peace and trade instead, which was like the secret. That is the secret magic of the late 20th century and the 21st century. You know, we're all growing as one big economy together now. Yeah, it's interesting, and I watched the videos online of it's called the let me see if I can think of what it's called. It's like a filter where it's like we look out at the stars, and it's like, where are all the aliens? Like, why are there not spacefaring aliens out there? Like, why are we not seeing them? So people think that most civilizations, you know, they destroy themselves before they get to that stage. So the question is, were we lucky? Like, you know, a lot of different points. Like, for example, is the evolution of life period.
Ever heard the trope of in like a sci-fi story, they make contact with aliens. And the aliens are like, hey, you know, you guys are great, you know, and they send some technology, and they're like, yeah, build this thing, it will give you infinite energy. And we're like, okay. And they send us some designs, and we finish building it, press the on button, and it blows the Earth up.
Yeah, but the idea of the filter is, you know, is cellular.
Obviously, this isn't a serious.
Yeah, I know.
This isn't a serious
cellular life
paradox.
Is that the big barrier? That doesn't. It seems to be that basic cellular life seems to be pretty common. Okay, so the next level is complex life. Is that the big barrier? And then more than that is the evolution of intelligent life. Is that seems to be like the big barrier because here on Earth, you know, you had the dinosaurs and they controlled the planet, you know, for millennia. And then it took a meteor to come and wipe them out before intelligent life could evolve. And then what's the stage at which that intelligent life becomes, you know, spacefaring? How do they not destroy themselves, you know, on the process of getting there through war, through another meteor blowing things up, through, you know, genocide, they kill each other, through they discover nuclear weapons. So yeah, that's the one. It's, for me, paradox. But I think that I ultimately am optimistic. I feel climate change. You know, make sure we don't fuck that up too badly. You know, for me, it's like, I mean, we started doing the Industrial Revolution 1800s. You know, it's been 2 centuries now. You know, polluting the earth. I mean, if we can go another century, I think we're going to get onto more sustainable, you know, sources of fuel and energy, and it's going to be a lot more, you know, not detrimental to the biosphere. So I don't know, like if over the next century, because we are going to mega pollute, you know, carrying forward, if that isn't catastrophic, then I think we're good. I don't know. What do you think, friend?
I agree. Perhaps speed 2. Getting invaded by Poland.
But yeah, the VR thing, I definitely think that will be a thing. That will be, because that'll probably happen within our lifetimes. You know, we'll probably be middle-aged dudes when that starts to become like good. So we may be partakers in that.
I was playing a point-and-click adventure game a few weeks ago. One moment. And there's basically, in this, it's like set in the future, and there's loads of people who are addicted to like the futuristic internet. And you meet like one guy, and he's basically a drug dealer, but he portrays himself as a religious preacher who wants to bring back people to real life, right? And the way he's encouraging people to come back and live in the real world is by giving them hardcore drugs, right? You think he's serious at first, but it turns out his shtick is actually that he is a drug dealer, but due to the law, if he pretends to be a religious figure and he pretends to accept donations in exchange for sacraments, i.e. barbiturates, then he doesn't get arrested for drug dealing.
Right.
That's the joke.
What game is this?
Techno Babylon. It's pretty good. They deal with a lot of They deal with a lot of consequences of, like, you know, if you live in like sort of transhumanist society, what, you know.
Yeah, one thing that might happen that is really creepy is if scientists discover ways to prolong lifespans artificially, like through, I don't know, modifying the body or some sort of way. And it's only accessible to the very rich, and so like a small portion of the population that's rich gets to live, you know, maybe I'm not saying forever, but let's say they get to live for 2 centuries or something like that. That's going to be super creepy and dystopian. So hopefully that does not happen.
I think that will definitely happen, because there are people who are working on that now, right? Because
it's going to cause tremendous social unrest. It's going to worsen inequality. That would be very creepy.
That doesn't matter, but it will happen because it doesn't matter. It will happen because there are lots of people with huge amounts of money, and the one thing they essentially can't buy is a prolonged life, right? They can make themselves healthier and they can live to the like extent of their lifespan, but they can't live, you know, indefinitely, right? And I think that if you have enough money thrown at the problem, it'll get solved, probably within our lifetimes, to be honest.
The other thing is going to be if they start genetically modifying babies, and we have
that's going to happen for sure. Probably happening.
These new...
You say that, but that's probably happening right now. No joke.
Yeah, these new generations that are going to, you know, be just inherently stronger, inherently taller, inherently more beautiful,
but then again,
intelligent.
Then again, you forget that people are also idiots. So you're probably going to end up with people breeding designer babies that are effectively like pure breed dogs and are functionally retarded.
But that's not true, because you would select for all the traits that would be.
No. Like, people will select for traits that they want, right? And people like retarded things, so they'll select for retarded traits.
But if you could modify any trait, you would pick the most intelligent, strongest, tallest, most beautiful, until you have a small portion of the population that fits all those elements, right? Like, so why would this be a self-correcting thing, is what I'm on about.
I'm not saying it's self-correcting, I'm just saying that people are idiots, and they will sort of over-select, and you know, you'll have children who are like 7 foot 5 inches tall, but also have crippling back problems and can't fucking walk. You know what I mean, right?
So you're saying like they'll over select things and it will create new problems. That's what you're on about. That's funny.
Like the Habsburgs, they just wanted to create a race of supermen, and they ended up with
That's interesting.
yeah. With not Superman.
You know, it did take 2 centuries, but they're perfect. Perfect nature. Nature had other plans for them. I like that. I like that theory.
No, I've got no problem. I think genetic engineering, like the kind you're talking about, is happening right now. Probably in China or Korea or something, but...
Still creepy. So here's a little trick that I've learned for this era that you're supposed to do. Provoke a peasant rebellion faction, like just so they pop up in the like the interface where you can negotiate with them.
And then harsh treatment.
No. Give in to them, so surrender to them, so they increase your autonomy everywhere, and then in each of your provinces, go around manually, and then reduce them. And then I think peasants it works for, particularists it works for, and that's how you can farm absolutism. Absolutism is a fucking bitch to get, so I only have 22. I just did it in like effectively every, not every, but effectively every province in Spain.
Interesting.
And then absolutism, people always prattle on about how good it is, so it gives you what? The admin efficiency, I guess, is good, which gives you what? I think it makes it like you can take more stuff and core more stuff is what it gives you.
How do you provoke a peasant rebellion then? What is there a good simple way to do it?
Yeah, because I've got only have separatists now, but I was able to get peasants for some reason. For a little interval of time there. Berbers are a pain in the ass if you play in Southern Europe, because they prevent you from getting prosperity for the entire game.
Very obnoxious, I know.
And then, what's it called? They have like a penalty when you take their land, so it costs more, what's it called? Points. Doesn't help in eliminating them. I think you can like use ships to protect your coasts or something, but it's like, I don't know.
You can hunt pirates, which reduces... The thing is, it only reduces the effectiveness, so if they have enough ships going on the mission, they can still overwhelm it. It's very, very annoying, I know. And it's like the only... It's just so obnoxious, because there's no way... Like, even if you're allied with them, I think they still fucking do it. I think they don't do it if you are,
No, they don't do it if you're allied. I know that for a fact, because I did like games with Mac where we had like guys who were they had like raiders and they don't do it. But yeah, it's still super annoying.
Alright, I gotta go.
Whatever.
Okay.